Hello and welcome to episode 129 of Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty. Of course, I am your host, Rick Doherty. A little over a decade ago, Magic Kingdom and Walt Disney World went through a big change, and frankly, I don't think we talk about it nearly enough when discussing the most visited theme park in the world. New Fantasyland opened in 2012, and Disney fans certainly have a lot of opinions about the addition. On today's show, I'll be joined by my good friend Marissa from Chicago. The two of us are going to go over all of the new attractions and restaurants to determine whether we think this move overall was for the better. Before we get to that conversation, July is Chronic Illness Pride Month. In a frustratingly horrible case of poor timing, Universal Orlando Resort decided this month was the time to announce a new, more intrusive process to acquiring a disability access pass for the parks. To be honest, this is something that has greatly upset a lot of us here at the podcast. With that in mind, Marissa will be back next week on the show when we will talk about the changes to the program at Universal and how we really hope similar changes will not be coming to Walt Disney World. Marissa needs these passes to manage the parks. My wife Courtney needs them to manage the parks. The Sarah Enigma, who is on the show fairly regularly, she needs them to manage the parks. Sarah Says, my regular co-host, has a husband and son who both need them to manage the parks. We are going to make sure to do the proper research and not jump to conclusions, but this is not a good move, and we definitely hope it's not coming to Disney. Now, we already had something planned for Chronic Illness Pride Month. The Sarah Enigma and I recorded a special video conversation about chronic illness. You can see that talk on the Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty YouTube channel on Monday, July 24th. That's this upcoming Monday. I promise it is an informative conversation. We're always trying to do positive things with this audience and community we've built. Last year, we raised money and awareness in the fight against domestic violence when I hiked across Ireland. In March, we collected basketballs, soccer balls, volleyballs, and more for the Boys and Girls Club of Central Florida. And in May and June, we tried to promote other members of the community who were raising money for LGBTQ plus charities. We're always looking to do good things, and that is why we're going to have this conversation coming up on Monday. With that in mind, I was thrilled that last week's episode of the podcast was by far our most listened to on YouTube. In addition to the other platforms, we had over 2,500 people view in the first 2 days. That is unbelievable. More than 1,000 more views than any of our previous most listened to episodes of the show. I just want to thank all of you from the bottom of my heart. Everybody who listens means the world to me. We wouldn't be able to do these great things if it wasn't for having a strong community supporting us. I also like to think that some of that popularity comes from us trying to help make positive impacts. Thank you so much. There are also some other really fun vlogs on the YouTube channel. I have some baseball trips, including one coming up where the rain prevented me from seeing any actual baseball, so I trade that in for my first experience at a Buc-ee's. There are vlogs from inside the Walt Disney World and Universal Orlando Resort parks. We see Fantasmic at Disney's Hollywood Studios, review a number of different dining options, see some Minions, and celebrate my birthday from the end of last month. Next Thursday, I will be at the first day of Epcot's International Food and Wine Festival, so get ready to see those offerings as well. Subscribe to the Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty YouTube channel so that you don't miss anything. Right now, let's get things started. Here's my good friend Marissa from Chicago. Thanks for being here, Marissa.
Thank you for having me.
So we are going to talk about something that has been around now for over a decade. And I think for a lot of us, it still feels brand new. It opened in 2012, all the way back in 2012. Remember when they said the world was going to end that year and it was 8 years early? But anyway, In 2012, they opened New Fantasyland in Magic Kingdom. And this is a big deal because it definitely expanded the things that are available to do in Fantasyland, which could get very, very bottlenecked back in the past. So I think as we talk about this, I'm going to go in reverse order of them being super popular. We're going to start with the things that I think are actually the best part of New Fantasyland, and those are things like the ride Barnstormer. The reason I think Barnstormer is a great addition, it's in the Pete Silly Sideshow section. Say that 3 times fast. And it's a very small footprint. This thing does not take up a lot of space. It's a very good beginner coaster. Kids can see if they feel like they're ready to maybe make the step up from Barnstormer to something like Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. And it never has all that long of a wait. So I think this was a great use of space for Disney.
Yeah, I agree. This is a great first coaster for little kids to see, just how brave they are, get that confidence in them that they can do a larger coaster. And it virtually takes up no room. And in that Pete Silly Sideshow area, I can't even say it once. It really is a great way to give kids that experience in a fun little, like, circus-ish environment that it feels a little more welcoming and a little less intimidating, and it's a fast line, fast ride. It's all good things.
When we talk about the problems with especially Animal Kingdom and especially Hollywood Studios, it is that those parks don't have little rides like Barnstormer that can just eat people. They don't have long waits. They're fast. It's something that you can do, feel like you're being productive, but it doesn't take 90 minutes of standing around to get it accomplished. And right next to the Barnstormer, they took a ride that was in an inconvenient place and really changed it for the better. What they did by moving Dumbo back to Pete's Silly Sideshow, creating a second wheel, and then putting a play area back in the queue, all of those things took a ride that could really clog up Fantasyland. And now you don't even notice it unless you're going back there to ride it.
It is pretty incredible how they managed to transform Dumbo in such a major way. It is very impressive, and the play area is such a masterful addition to give kids that space to kinda run around and jump and get the wiggles out while they're waiting in line. It's a great, great use of space, and adding that second wheel makes the ride go much faster or the line go much faster. You get to wait indoors, which I'm sure parents are much happier about than just standing in a line outside. It was such a great change.
I think that might be the best thing they did in all of New Fantasyland was just moving Dumbo to a different location and changing the dynamic of the guest flow. It's almost the opposite of Magic Carpets of Aladdin in Adventureland, which is also a Dumbo style ride, but they just plunked it in the middle of a walkway and created all these bottlenecks in a land that didn't used to have bottlenecks, where in Fantasyland, they relieved those bottlenecks. It was perfect. Imagineering at its best, solving a problem. They also have some really cute meet and greets back in the Pete Silly Sideshow area. It's not official, it's not every day, or they don't say it's every day, but I know Chip and Dale are usually back there and just doing a more informal meet. There is a line, but it's outside, and if it's raining, they probably won't do it or whatever. But Chip and Dale being there is always a positive. But in the big top, you can meet Donald and Goofy and Minnie and Daisy. And the positive about these meet and greets is you wait in one line for 2 characters. So if you wait for Donald, you also get to meet Goofy. If you wait for Minnie, you also get to meet Daisy. That is very helpful because a lot of kids are going to want to meet a lot of characters, get a lot of pictures, get those autographs. And if you have to wait in a different line for each and every one of them, that can take a big chunk out of your day. They're in little circusy outfits. It's fun. I think this is a win-win as well.
Yeah, this is a really cute little meet and greet area. Again, set up fantastically. This whole section of New Fantasyland is really geared towards families with younger kids. And the whole waiting in one line for two characters is just another way that you can tell the Imagineers really kept that at the forefront when planning this area. It's all great.
There's also a meet and greet in this area, which is Ariel over by her ride, the Little Mermaid ride. And I think that the Imagineers did overestimate the popularity of this ride because the queue is incredibly long. It is a very detailed queue. It is air conditioned. They make it feel like 30 degrees cooler when you get inside and get in the shade. But I do think that they over anticipated how many times this was going to have an hour and a half wait, because it's usually not a walk on, but it's under 25 minutes. And it harkens back to the Disney dark rides of Fantasyland of old, where you go through, you see scenes from a movie. There aren't enough of these rides in Walt Disney World as far as I'm concerned. I think this was a great addition. I do think that we've talked about the Ariel meet and greet here being a little difficult because she's in sort of a revealing outfit, which has led to some problems. But that's adults acting stupidly. That has nothing to do with the actual quality of the meet. So I would say that this Little Mermaid section is a big deal, a great addition as well.
I would agree. I think the Little Mermaid ride in itself is a really cute ride. I love the little details, like, when you go under the sea, the little clamshell you sit in tilts back and there are bubbles on the ceiling. So you really feel like, you're making that transition underwater into under the sea. The under the sea scene with all the little animatronics moving about and Sebastian singing is really cute, full of these bright colors that are really fun for kids and adults to look at and listen to. It is a really fun ride, and the only downside is that because it's not as popular as the Imagineers anticipated, you really don't ever get to see the details in the queue. There are so many amazing little details throughout this queue, and you kind of just breeze right past them, which is a little bit of a shame. I know there's a hidden Mickey right outside this ride as well. If you stand and look at some of the rocks a certain way, you can actually see Steamboat Willie made out of them, which is again, a really cool little detail that you're probably not going to notice just because you move so quickly. The meet and greet, great. Again, adults being problematic is adults' issues, but for kids, getting to meet Ariel is very exciting, and having a little dedicated space for that is great.
And where Ariel can be a mermaid and have the mermaid tail, I think that is what most people think of when they think of her. They don't think of her in her dress at the end of the movie. So they want to see the Little Mermaid as a mermaid. I will say it shows just how good of an addition this is when one of your complaints is that the line isn't long enough for it. And that hidden Steamboat Willie is definitely something that people should be on the lookout for the next time they ride this. It is as you are leaving, so just let people pass you, drift over to the right, and then look at the rocks. And it can be hard to see it, but once you see it, you'll never not see it ever again. Right next to the Ariel section, we begin 3 different parts that are Beauty and the Beast themed. There's a little shop, there's Gaston's Tavern, and there's one of the best bathrooms in Magic Kingdom, all right there in the corner. You might not even notice that the bathrooms are back there, but take advantage of them because the Rapunzel bathrooms are going to be packed. So head over to that section, get a cinnamon bun or the gray stuffed cupcake at Gaston's, and The shop is a little disappointing now. It used to be Beauty and the Beast theme, but now it's just generic Disney stuff, which is fine. I liked when that theming was there, but it's always good to have another quick place to grab something to eat, to grab a drink, to get those souvenirs, and this was needed.
It absolutely was. Gaston's Tavern offers a lot. LeFou's Brew is a really great cold drink that's dairy free. So that's a great option on a hot day if you want to cool down a little bit. Um, the shop, I do agree, it was better when it stuck with that theme. But it's got some nice stuff in there. And you are not kidding about those bathrooms. I don't know if you should be telling people about them because they're nice and they're clean, and the Rapunzel ones are mayhem. So these are definitely the way to go. The little Gaston fountain out in front is such a great fountain, and I always get such a kick out of posing in front of it like Gaston for a picture. Highly, highly recommend.
Now, I'm going to say something controversial. This is going to be my first, oh no, he didn't of the episode. And that is going to be when we talk about Be Our Guest, which used to be one of those places that I wanted to go so badly. When I was on vacation, I would want to make sure I got to do Be Our Guest. And when I was there, I was so excited. And now, after the last time we ate there, we had a magical time. I absolutely loved it. It was for Courtney's birthday back in 2022. Loved it. Don't ever have to do it again. Now, maybe that will change as I don't do it for a few years. But right now, I just don't think it's worth the price or the hassle of trying to get a reservation, although reservations are getting easier and easier to find as people realize this isn't necessarily the must-do event that it was in the past. I'm just going to say a little overrated.
I'm going to agree with you there. I think that a lot of people go into this reservation, especially at dinner, and they're expecting something on the same level as Cinderella's Royal Table, where it is a full character dining experience, and you see Belle and you see the Beast, and then they're kind of surprised to find out that Beast doesn't even come to your table. You have to go up to him. So for a character dining experience, it's not quite on the same level as other character dining experiences are. I also agree.
I wouldn't even call it a character dining experience. I would say Beast shows up at some points.
Yeah, I agree. I think people expect it to be like, you're at the castle with Belle and the Beast, and you're going to see these characters, and it's just kind of like Beast is standing in a corner. And like you can go say hi at one point. But I also think that for the price, it's not really worth it. I personally haven't been since they got rid of the quick service, and probably will not go unless they bring quick service back. They used to have a really great quick service breakfast option where you could get into the park early, which was really nice. Breakfast was delicious. They had a great quick service lunch. That was actually my favorite meal to do there, where you could actually sit inside the castle and kind of enjoy that atmosphere as a midday break without spending $60 on a dinner. And the food was actually good quality, which was something that Magic Kingdom really, really lacks, is good quality quick service. So I am very disappointed that they took that option away. So yeah, I think that it is something that has operated better in the past and currently does not live up to the expectations set by its price.
And right now, you don't even really get Beast in the corner where you can walk up to him. Now he just kind of walks through the dining room and waves at people. I was there, and you know how I'm in the parks, I'm taking pictures, I'm taking videos, and I was a professional videographer at one point in my life, and I couldn't even get good video of him because he's just like walking through so fast, and I couldn't get really good pictures. And it's a shame because I don't think it would be that hard to just make sure everybody who paid $240 for 4 people to eat got a picture with the Beast as well. That should be something Disney is able to accommodate.
Yeah, that feels like a no-brainer.
So with that in mind, Be Our Guest, something that in the past I would have said was a big plus, for New Fantasyland. I'm kind of over it now, and I am thinking that this is one of those overrated restaurants. You're starting to flip through MDE every once in a while, and reservations are a heck of a lot more plentiful than they were in the past. So I'm kind of down on Be Our Guest. I'm going to move over to something that you have not experienced and I have only experienced once. So we'll probably breeze past this one because every good Disney adult needs to understand that not everything is for us. And Enchanted Tales with Belle is definitely one of those things. I've done it just so that I can talk about it and I can have that experience. There is one really, really cool effect, and that is when the mirror turns into the door. And I would say that this is worth it for just that little trick if it's not that long of a wait. But this is definitely intended for the little ones. So, Marissa, I totally understand why you skipped this one.
Yeah, it's definitely one that I want to do just because of that effect, because I've seen how cool it is in video, and it's going to be even more impressive in person. But ultimately, traveling as an adult without any children in my party and not as a local, so even though I do get down there more often, my Magic Kingdom days are usually pretty packed. It's not high on my to-do list, so I usually end up swinging by Big Thunder another time.
If I remember correctly, the only reason that we did it was I was with my wife, Courtney, on our anniversary, and we made a breakfast reservation and we had an early dinner reservation, and we were dressed nicely because it was our anniversary, and our anniversary is in August, and it was something to do inside. So we were trying to find every possible thing while I'm wearing a long sleeve shirt in August in Magic Kingdom and khakis that I could find that would be indoors. Now we're going to go to the behemoth, probably the most controversial item of New Fantasyland, and that is going to be Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. I don't think you're going to find anybody who says this is a bad ride, but I think there are going to be people who have complaints about it. So just first things first, Marissa, what are your thoughts on Seven Dwarfs Mine Train?
Oh, I love this ride. I think it is so much fun. It's such a cute ride. It's great for adults, it's great for kids. It's got such a fun combination of roller coaster elements and dark ride elements that it does almost feel like you're getting the two ride experiences in one. So I really enjoy that aspect. I do know that, the most common complaint out there is that people wish it was longer. And I understand that. However, I will say, with the seats being structured how they are for adult riders, if it is a much longer ride, it's going to get uncomfortable really fast. So I think the length is perfect for maximum enjoyment.
I am just going to add that if Marissa, I don't know if many of you know Marissa's size, is complaining about these seats, that is a big deal. This is the most uncomfortable ride in all of Walt Disney World for me. I can do it. Sometimes my legs are too long for, depending on the shoes I wear, ironically, for Avatar Flight of Passage. So that's a leg thing. But in this ride, I can always do it. I fit. But boy, is it uncomfortable. And I know there was one time that I was in line and I was by myself, and there was a family of three. And it was a mother, her daughter, and the daughter's father. I mean, I'm presuming, I'm making assumptions, but I think it's a pretty good guess. Who was probably about 6'3", and I'm 6'4". And I wanted to go up to the guy and say, I'm not going to be weird to your daughter or your wife. I don't care who you sit next to me, but please don't you sit next to me. And of course, he had to sit next to me. And I was like, this is just so unfortunate because we were just legs. Like, we were peeking over our kneecaps to try to see some of these animatronics. It is a good ride. I think the reason that people have a negative opinion of it, it's twofold. One, the line is always crazy long. which, if you made this a longer ride, it would just make the line even longer. And they fit it into a very small footprint. Like, they did a great job with the footprint they had of making this a big e-ticket attraction. The e-ticket attraction of Magic Kingdom, frankly. The other issue is because we got this, we lost the Snow White Dark ride. And I think a lot of people judge the new things based by what we lost because of them. I don't think a lot of people are mad about 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which is what actually sat on this footprint in the past. But they weren't going to have two Snow White rides. So they got rid of the Snow White Dark ride for this. And I think that some people are a little upset about that. But I can't say Disney made the wrong decision. This always has hour and a half, 2-hour wait times. People love it. Kids love it. It is a great step, I would say, in between the Barnstormer and Big Thunder Mountain Railroad for what type of intensity you're ready for as a kid. If you can make it through the Barnstormer, then take the step up to Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. And then if you can do Mine Train, try Thunder. And then you're working your way over to Space. And it definitely serves a lot of different purposes. Do you really miss that Snow White Dark ride, however?
I don't. Maybe that makes me a bad Disney fan that I don't miss it. But part of that bias for me is there was a big gap between when I went to Disney World as a child and when I started going again more frequently as an adult. And when I came back as an adult, New Fantasyland had been established. So, my memories of the Snow White Dark ride were kind of like childhood nostalgia, kind of fuzzy. But then Seven Dwarfs came in and was like, okay, this is like coming back to Disney and this new ride, and it's exciting, and it's become part of my memories moving forward, for the past several years. So I feel like I can't judge it too fairly, but no, I don't miss it.
And even with one of my favorite rides that used to be in Fantasyland, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, I try not to complain if we still have a version at Disneyland, because these parks don't have to be carbon copies of each other. And to give me an excuse to want to go to Disneyland, and they have an updated version of the Snow White Dark ride. It's not as scary. Now it is actually, I think, a very, very good compromise of a dark ride in Fantasyland and Disneyland. It gives me that excuse to see Snow White, to see Pinocchio, to see Mr. Toad when I head over to the West Coast. And I know not everybody can do that, but Walt Disney World is always going to be the one that tries to throw the bigger thing in there. So they're not going to have the Snow White Dark ride. They're going to have the small Snow White coaster. And they're going to have these things that try to attract vacationers more, while Disneyland is always going to be there for the people who like Disney to maybe the unhealthy level that some of us like Disney. And that's why those two things probably work out that way. So overall, I think New Fantasyland is a fantastic addition. I think this was incredibly needed. I did not particularly like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which is what a lot of this was back in the day, was just that one ride. They did a great job of maximizing Dumbo and getting more people through Dumbo by making it a two-ride situation. I still think, compared to Disneyland, Walt Disney World's Fantasyland is lacking, but this is a great step in the right direction, where we have more rides, we have spread out people a lot more than in the past. So, looking at it 11 years later, what do you think, Marissa?
I have to completely agree. I think that it's such a net positive for Magic Kingdom and, Fantasyland as a whole. I would like to see, it's been 11 years. Who knows what a Magic Kingdom has in store for its next evolution, but I would love to see a new Fantasyland. I don't know if there's any way for them to expand it, but that's definitely a section that there's so much you can draw from. So I think it would be nice to see more.
Ooh, Marissa, I have an idea. Let's blow up Speedway and use that space half for Tomorrowland, half for Fantasyland. There you go. There we have our new Fantasyland ride. Marissa, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
This has been episode 129 of Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty. Coming up on Monday, July 24th, tune into the YouTube channel for my conversation with the Sarah Enigma for Chronic Illness Pride Month. Then next Thursday, on all our usual podcasting platforms, Marissa will be back to talk about the new Disability Access Pass at Universal Orlando Resort. I'm sure we'll also touch on a few more topics when we finally get talking. That will be next Thursday on Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty. Until then, have a great week.